Scott Siebert. I'm Rose Emperor 36 from Portland, Oregon, and currently on the council as ward president. I've been part of the court system since 1984 and part of the court in Portland for 30 years or more. I got involved with the court system when I was doing public health work, and there was a strange illness called GRID, and there was a court in Eugene that offered to do a fundraiser to buy flyers to put out where gay men were, warning them about GRID. We didn't know how it was spread, we didn't know how it worked, we just knew that gay people were dying. And that was my introduction. They were the first people who did something, and it's continued since then. Today, I am number 2 in the line of succession. On the council, currently I am board president. This is my second year as board president. This time, I had a year prior on an earlier engagement. I've been on council on and off for, I think, 6 years now. I initially joined the council because a friend of mine was serving on the council and said, "You'd be really good at this. And then you can also share room costs with me when we travel." So that's how I got on the council initially. I returned to the council this last time when Nicole called and said, "Would you please come back?" I know the power that the council can have and the power that the court system can have in people's lives. And that's what keeps me engaged, even on the worst days, thinking back to things that this court system has done that have changed people's lives. In some cases, literally kept people alive. We did the initial anti-bullying work with the Matthew Shepard Foundation that was then put out in school districts all across the country before anyone else had done bullying curriculum. And so we think about the impact of some of those things that we did, literally $1 at a time fundraising, and the lives that they've changed, or the lives that are still around today because of the work we've done. So even on the worst day on the council, I can take a moment, pause, remember what we've done and what the opportunities are for us moving ahead. I think the other thing that keeps me on the council and brought me back were the relationships that we create in the court system and on the council with people that I maybe never would have met if I hadn't been involved. So it's a pretty wonderful opportunity to increase your personal knowledge of diversity and understanding of other people. So there's the functional way you become a council member is that you get appointed by Queen Mother Nicole. The best way to become a council member is to go to a meeting, talk to a couple council members, see if it's what you really want to do. It's targeted more at people who want to do committee work, want to communicate outside of just their own court, expect to do a little more travel and a lot more schmoozing and a lot more information gathering. People on the council don't represent their particular court. They represent courts in the court system and are expected to be willing to come and share information they get, not just from their court, but from any court. Not as an active member, although I am an active participant in several of the committees and help them review their work to get it ready for council. The executive committee meets monthly, reviews the finances of the organization. We get a report from at least one of the committees that we can dig into a little bit each month, as well as talk about upcoming events, things we need to be prepared for, upcoming meetings, and any kind of flashpoint that's occurred. We also review any complaints that have been filed about courts in the court system or individuals that have risen to the level that we're involved. I would say my favorite experience on the council was we've been doing fundraising for a hospice in Tijuana. And we raised money, but it didn't click for me that the money made a difference. And then after one of the Tijuana parties in San Diego, they said, you got your passport, you got your ID, come with us. And we went down to Tijuana and we spent the day, literally took down a bunch of food and other things that we couldn't legally take across the border, but they seemed to make it just fine underneath the car seat. We took down a ton of stuff down there. There was a pharmacy at their hospice that had a bottle of 500 aspirin, and that was the extent of what was on their pharmacy shelves. And we took down all this stuff, and I watched the impact of the work that we were doing and the people who are now eating. They had, when we got there, they had almost 70 people who were living there at the hospice, including a bunch of kids whose parents had died there, and the kids just stayed there. There was nowhere for them to go. I remember as we were coming back, we were in the van and we were crying. It was just, it was not a good cry in one way. In another way, it was just realizing what a difference we made to the people who were there, and really altered for me how I thought about the privilege I have in my life that I had just never thought about. I think it can be very hard sometimes to be on the council, especially if you're the only council member in that area, because people don't always understand what the council does. It's like, we have our own court. Who are these people? What do they have to say to us, and why do we care? And so that's been probably the most difficult part, is continually saying, this is why we exist, and we exist for you. There are things that we can do to help make the court's life easier and help create relationships between courts that don't exist. I think 60 is pivotal for me because it is an opportunity for us to look at who are we today, how did we get here, what do these traditions mean, how do they support us in being an active part of our community and taking care of our members and our communities, and how do they hold us back. And I think that at 60 years, it's time for us to start looking at that. What are the things that we need to change so that we can be more relevant in our community? Not just raising money, but actually creating leaders in our community, creating leaders in our court. On the other hand, we have an opportunity to once again create leaders in our community, to create relationships with other organizations that are beneficial to both organizations and helpful. Our main strength in the international court system is creating leaders. We used to say that was because we had monarchs. What I've discovered over the years is you can be a monarch and not be a leader. But if you are a leader and a monarch, you can change your community, and you will change the people that you interact with. That's my hope for the next 60 years. We make the changes we need to be relevant and be strong partners in our community.